One of the biggest games of the year deserves a party, and that's where we're at. Ben Bishop is the senior producer of NBA 2K. We're up to 19 already. Can you believe it?
No, I can't. It's been a long road, but it's super exciting to see, not just what we did this year, but the whole history of NBA 2K right behind us.
Okay, well with 2K19, you guys obviously have a whole bunch of new things that you work on every year to kind of iterate and make your experience more fulfilling for everybody. What are you focusing on with this year's model?
I think the big thing is the evolution of the neighborhood. It's all in a much more centralized space. You don't have to run down the street and around the corner to get to the basketball courts. Now it's all there in one central location. And if you need to go to Foot Locker and get some shoes, or if you want to jump in and play a park game, it's all right there in front of you. So it really creates a much more interactive experience where it feels like there's activity happening all the time. It's not just people playing on the courts or nothing. Right. Now I think you're going to see a lot more of just activity and excitement and people doing things. You'll see some stuff on there like dodgeball, and there's just so much more, I think, to keep people involved and immersed in just that whole neighborhood, not just the courts.
Was that some of the feedback that you got from last year? Because I loved it last year, but it did feel like, where do I go?
Yes.
What? It's so big.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So this year it really feels like it's a much more sensible space.
Yeah.
You can really kind of just look around and see everything in front of you. It really feels like more of an old town square type of a feel, with the courts in the middle of everything. For the people who just want to play a certain way, we really tried to give them those tools.
We're here in Mike Wang's basement, game cave right here.
My basement.
Is this what it is?
It's my man cave.
This is your man cave right here? You got all your TV set up, you got Kevin Garnett behind you there.
We hang out sometimes.
You do? That's amazing. What's unique about the game this year? What have you done with this title that you've never done before with NBA?
One thing that's new this year that I've been telling people about is this system called Takeover.
Yep.
And what I love about it is that anybody in the league can take the game over in their own way. And so for us, we wanted to portray that through the game. So now if you're a glass cleaner, say, or a rim protector, you can get hot, but you get hot in your own way, by getting boards or by getting stops on the defensive end. So for us, it's a way just to showcase the different talent that's in the NBA and different styles of play, and it brings a lot more of a competitive balance to this year's title.
What do you think gameplay-wise people are going to walk away from 2K19 really impressed by?
I think it's going to go back to defense. Everyone I talk to out there just loves the feel of the game. And a lot of them are talking about just the feel of how if I'm doing good things on offense, I'm rewarded. If I'm doing good things on defense, I'm also rewarded. So they're loving the cat and mouse there. And what I love to see is I love to see out there that people are getting blown out, like badly. And you can tell it's not because something's by chance. It's not because one guy has a better team than another guy, because the guy in the sticks is way better than the other guy. And so for me, I love that. And it's going to be really good for us, really good for 2K League, and for all the competitive modes. I
noticed with the right thumbstick, the defense was absolutely incredible. It's like you guys have figured out how to read my mind and put it in the right thumb and know where the player's hand is going to be. Like, that's not easy. And I've been right along with you playing this game every year, but how do you kind of tackle challenges like that?
I know for us, we just always imagine, what do you want to do on the court? Yeah. And what makes sense to a user. So we try to keep our controls consistent. And so for us, right stick stealing was something we had a couple of years ago. Yeah. A lot of people wanted it back, and so why did we take it out in the first place? It made sense. Yeah. And we just flick the stick left or right, you'll steal with that hand. Yeah. If you hold it, you'll kind of reach out in that direction. So it just made sense. So for us, a lot of the time, it's just like, what are the things that the player wants to do to mimic what he wants to do in real life, and what's the most sensible way to do that? And so for us, putting right stick defense back in that way made sense.
Now you've worked with Spike Lee, and you worked with I think Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan.
Michael B. Jordan, yeah.
Who are you working with for the story part of the game this year?
I would say this year we have the biggest cast of characters and probably the most high-profile characters. We did have Michael B. Jordan, like you mentioned. Yeah. But I think altogether as a whole, the cast is huge and exciting. Michael Rappaport, Anthony Mackie is a big part of the story. So it really just raises up the overall quality of the narrative that's going on around you. And I think getting to see that is just a whole nother step towards immersing you in, like, this is my story, this is me making my way to the NBA. I think if you like that Spike experience, it definitely feels like more of a full narrative versus, like, say last year it was just little pieces of things. This year it's much more connected, and it's really like a good introduction into your NBA beginnings, and I think people will really enjoy it.
We talked to Karl Anthony Towns about being in the game and doing mocap and stuff. You work with him. Are we working with other pros and other athletes that you're very excited about for this one?
Yeah, Giannis, who is on our cover, he did some work. You'll see him in my career. Anthony Davis is another one. Ben Simmons did some work with Shaq and Kareem, which was really cool because they, we've done a lot of current player stuff, but they get to come at it from the perspective of more like mentors, since they're older retired guys. But that dichotomy of Shaq versus Kareem was really fun because Shaq comes at it as more of like a have fun, get the message across, but have fun with it, whereas Kareem was much more of the wise old sage. So they both make appearances, and that's a lot of fun. And you still get to interact with some of the current players, too.
Do you hear from, I know you hear from players about their ratings and stuff, but do you hear from them about specifics of the game that they want to see improve? Like good defenders, they don't ever get the spotlight. But do you hear from good defenders saying, come on, man, I can make those stops?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all the guys who come in, they're all huge 2K fans. And it's funny, like a lot of these guys who come in, like we had Ben Simmons in the other week. These guys have all kind of grown up on 2K.
Nice.
So they know the game inside and out. And so they're always telling us what they want to see different, what they want to see changed. And we love it because what better advice to get than from a pro?
Is it pulling teeth ever to get some of these players to be involved, or does everybody line up and go, I want to be in, I want to be there, I want to be there?
No, I think it's not. I think they're excited about it because most of these guys, especially now that the age that some of these younger players are, they grew up playing this game their whole life. So, NBA 2K came out almost 20 years ago. Some of these guys weren't even born yet. So they've been playing the game since they were, 3, 4, 5 years old or whatever. So, I think there's a quote on the wall over there from Jason Tatum talking about how it was a dream come true to actually see himself in virtual form, because that's something he had been looking forward to, since he was a little kid. So when we asked them to work with us, they're excited. They're a big part of helping us launch this each year, and you'll see some of them will be playing it on Twitch and doing stuff like that and interacting with the fans online. So they help make it what it is too.
One thing that I recognize in the game is that every year it approaches that feeling like you're not playing a game, like you're watching the real humans interact, and you guys edge closer and closer to that every year. How do you frame for that? Do you write it up on the whiteboard and say we want to let people forget that they're even playing a video game, and we're driving towards that?
It's really just a lot of hard work. I mean, our audio and presentation teams are, I think the best in the business, and they start out, they're already starting to prep for next year's game. And so they bring all that together, and every time you play it feels a little bit different. Again, hopefully more like a TV broadcast, which is never the same, as opposed to one of these older video games here that after a while it starts to get repetitive.
You guys are always adding new animations and new abilities to the players. Next gen is imminent. We're going to hear something very soon. What do you guys do that shocks us with next gen? What do you guys, how does it get better than this?
I never really know, because for me it's we have a technical team that deals with the hardware and the upgrades and the power of the systems and what we can actually push through them. And for me, it just kind of happens because the art team, they push things, and we have a lot of technical artists who understand stuff that I will never understand. And so for me, as a fan of the game and a fan of the sport, I get to see things as a user, and even though I develop games, I look at what our team is doing across the board in other areas, and I'm amazed too. So I love that we have just crazy intelligent people in our squad, and they're always pushing the envelope.
We're getting close to the tail end of these systems, and we're getting close to the idea of something being announced here. Have you guys got, renders or ideas, or can you scale up to something we've never seen before already?
We've got our eye on that for sure. I mean, it's always been a goal of ours as a studio to be right there whenever a new console launches. So, I don't think I'm allowed to talk about that a whole lot, but it's definitely something we've got our eye on. We'll be ready for it. And we're excited too, just to see what's coming next. What are we going to be able to do with better hardware and more processing power and everything else? And you're right, it's not that far away, but we'll be ready.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing ray tracing for Battlefield 5. Are we going to see the reflection of a basketball in LeBron's eyes as it's going by pretty soon?
It's very possible. You'll see. I mean, we're going to try to push it as far as we can. We always do, so don't be surprised.
I don't think I've ever seen a display like this for a sports game with as much kind of reverence as this one has, where you kind of represent all of the history right behind us. Why do you guys have the old games here? Is it the 20th anniversary, or did it feel right to honor the classic stuff?
Yeah, it's the 20th year, so starting with 2K and all the way up to 2K19, so it seemed like a good sort of moment for us to look back, and just for whatever reason, I think it's cool to see where it came from. I was just looking at NBA 2K, the original, before everybody came in, and I didn't even remember what it was like, and I played a little bit, and it's just, it's just really crazy. I think hopefully it helps people appreciate a little bit more like where it's come. Like you can even go look at like there's 2K6 and 2K9 over there versus 2K, and then all the way up to 2K18 and 2K19, and just the evolution is crazy. And I think it just hopefully helps people get that much more excited about what they're seeing now and where we've come. The cool thing is that this is also Visual Concepts' 30th anniversary this year. Wow. So there's a lot of guys who have been back, even before 2K started and working on non-sports titles from way back. And so, a lot of those guys are still, deep in the trenches. Like I think at a lot of places as you get older, you don't work so much on the games, but most of those guys are still back there in the office. They're with the whole team in the summer, helping get the game done. So they haven't like stepped back and just, let the young guys take over. They're all part of it too. So it's just a really cool environment to be a part of, and it's just cool to see the passion that all these people have for games even after 20 years.